Hi there folks, Gareth here, and here we are back for our final part of this computer build where we do some basic testing of the system just to see how powerful it is and that it's all working. In the last part we got up to the point where I had just installed the USB and we were about to set up Windows 10. Okay, so it's reading off the USB. It didn't find anything on the hard disk, so it automatically defaulted to the USB. We can go ahead and install Windows. We're going with Windows 10 Home. And we're going for install only. On this particular drive we can just hit next because there's not much that can be done there. And we'll let Windows do its thing. Okay, so all in, to get to this stage of the Windows 10 setup took roughly about 15 minutes. There was a period of black screen with mouse movement that had me a bit worried. However, it does seem to have managed to overcome that, and we've got into the PC without any faults or problems, anything along those lines. So far I'm thinking this is a success, but that's usually when the ground slips out from underneath your feet. The machine itself, obviously the cover is off the side. It's kind of quiet. I can hear the heatsink on and fan on the processor, which is loud enough, but it's not as loud as if there was a fan on the GPU. The hard disk is also making a lot of clatter. Not a lot of clatter, but I suppose in comparison to being used to an SSD, the hard disk is quite loud. Reading and writing, but no louder than you would expect from a spinning hard drive. And we've signed into Windows using my own personal ID, and it's downloaded my particular backdrop that I like. And we'll have to check and see if there's any updates as well, and any updates to the GIGABYTE motherboard and the AMD processor. We don't have a CD-ROM drive in the computer, so we will have to download any drivers and things necessary, but Windows 10 should really sort that out, and to be honest it is quite good at that. We're not going to bother with installing Chrome or Firefox or anything like that. We're going to try and work exclusively from Internet Explorer. Okay, so as you can see we've got an absurd amount of updates to do. This is probably going to take a few hours, so I'm just going to leave it and come back to it later when it's all updated, hopefully. Installing, we're just going to go with Skyrim, the special edition. Does seem to be a fairly high-end and low-end game. We're downloading at 4.7 megabytes per second, so this is performing at about the same as what I should see from any of my computers over my own home broadband. We'll have a look at the HW monitor. HW monitor shows us exactly how fast the fans are running, various crucial bits of information inside the computer, so we can monitor just how well it's doing during various intense tasks. And we're going to leave that. We're going to do a quick restart so that we can check the DIMMs that the RAM is plugged into. Okay, so there we are running on the other DIMMs, and it is detecting the memory and the frequency is holding at 133, and there's 8 gigabytes on there. So we'll just let it boot up, and then we'll install Skyrim, have a quick blast at that and see how well it runs in various different graphical settings. And we have the full case on now. We've connected up the other side panel. I'll take the microphone around and just, you can have a listen to see just how little noise there is out of this machine. So I'm hoping you were able to pick up just how little sound there is out of it. Obviously the hard disk is whirling because we are still in the middle of boot up. However, the fan itself on the processor isn't terribly loud. We do have a bit of a hum coming from the whole thing, and there's obviously the power supply as well. But other than that, we're quite quiet. And once Skyrim is installed, we'll be able to see what it's like under full load. Okay, so while Skyrim's downloading, we'll have a quick look at CPU-Z, a pretty reliable little hardware monitor that will show us what's happening with the system. Obviously this is all stuff we already know about the setup and the specs of the computer. There's no point in going over all this again. But we can do a quick benchmark test, and we can bench the CPU, for which we're getting 1100 thereabouts. If we change our reference to, let's say, an i7, it's considerably better than what we're dealing with here. But going down to an AMD, well, let's go for an i3 if we can find one. There's an i3 there. So it's marginally better from what it shows. We'll stress the CPU. It did seem to hang there for a minute. It is proving to be stable. It's not falling over or anything, but then it shouldn't do because we haven't overclocked in any way. So we will run CPU-Z plus speed fan and see how we go. Stress. We're not hearing a hell of a lot from the computer. It doesn't sound like it's going into overdrive with the fan. We've got temperature 3 there, is sitting at 41 degrees. Okay, so we're going to stop her there. We're not exactly pushing very high above 52 degrees C, which is quite a safe temperature. Obviously there must be some kind of fail-safe built into the processor anyway. Okay, so we've got Skyrim installed, and we're just going to have a quick look and see how well it runs. This can take a wee while for it to install all the packages that are required, DirectX and all that kind of malarkey. Your video hardware was not defined. Video settings have been set for low quality. Obviously we don't have any speakers attached to this computer, but there is the Realtek HD audio that's built into the motherboard. It's usually of fairly good standard. So this is on low graphical settings. We're not detecting too much lag at the moment. However, I'm sure whenever we get into the game, things will start chugging. It's still technically loading the game, and this is the opening cinematic, which you can look around in. So whilst of course the low quality graphics aren't exactly stellar by any stretch of the imagination, it still proves that we can actually do a bit of gaming, and it gives you an idea of the potential for gaming on this platform. It costs £300, and maybe this is probably about maybe Xbox One or PlayStation 3 standard of graphics. However, there is a bit of a slowdown every now and again. There's a little bit of mouse lag whenever you switch the camera about a bit. And while some may say it's kind of unplayable in this form. Some might be quite happy to tolerate that and will actually work with it. But it also means that games of a slightly lower standard than Skyrim in a low graphical standard will probably run quite smoothly. Say for example Grand Theft Auto 3 or Vice City or something should run quite nicely on this altogether. So for £300 we are putting together a pretty decent level of hardware that is a perfect office computer. That's absolutely right. A bit of the possibility of it being a dedicated media server, a Plex server or something like that is also an important consideration. But then investing just another couple of £100 is so easy to do to better the standards of the computer in every area. Cutting it down to £300 meant that I had to make some considerable concessions. However, the point of the matter is, it can be done. That money that you could be investing in a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One can build you a fairly decent rig that can be added to over time to increase the potential. So big thanks to Reichelt for all the bits and pieces that we've used to build this. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe for more random tech videos, and take care.